is a video made by Lazy Masquerade. I've seen a couple of videos in this channel prior. Pretty good pacing in the video, a voice that doesn't annoy you, etc., etc. This is something that I've heard about every here and there. This is very interesting. This is a thing in Japan, by the way. An incident that still haunts people in Japan.
Albeen Balbeen 300 is eyeballing you with a posture check.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, let me go get my protein. Yep. The Logan Paul is not that one, but
by international standards, Japan is one of the safest societies in the world. But on the rare occasion something awful does take place there, the perpetrator always seems to crank things up to 11. Now,
that is so fucking true. I feel like Japan is one of those countries where everything, not feel like I've been there. The type of weird you experience here and the type of weird you experience there are two entirely different universes. Again, I lived there for 2.5 years. So what you would call weird and cringe here, okay? What you would call weird and cringe here doesn't exist over there. But when they are weird, it is the most wild shit ever. They make everything and everyone either fear them or hate them. It's just one extreme. There's no in between. You're either okay or you're not. If you like crime, you should watch Explore with Us Crime. Link one of those videos and then react to this channel through them, and I will absolutely check it out.
if you were to ask a Westerner, what's Japan's most heinous
Or
incident,
remind me after the
they'd likely
video.
bring up the slaying of Junko Furuta, or one of the other major cases that have received global attention. But if you were to ask a native, more often than not, the first case that springs to their mind is a region-locked one. A case that rarely gets discussed or reported on in English.
Okay.
And it just so happens to come from my former home city of Kobe.
Kobe?
The
Okay.
Sakakibara Seito incident. On the morning of May 27th, 1997, the janitor of Tomogaoka Junior High in the seaside district of Suma began making his way to the school's entrance gate. That Tuesday began like any other for this weary custodian, who always arrived before the students and teachers, just as the sun was beginning to rise.
Okay.
And yet, even at such a calm and quiet hour, there was still a tangible sense of unease in the air. There had been for a while. The city of Kobe was still reeling from a spate of attacks that had occurred earlier in the year, where a number of local youngsters had been targeted by a still uncaught madman.
If you haven't heard about this in Kobe, there's actually 2 different animes that got very inspired by the horrible things that happened during this era. I cannot, for the likes of me right now, remember the names of them, but there are animes that are heavily inspired and based on these things. Very dark and heavy.
In February, 2 schoolgirls had been bludgeoned in the back of their heads with a hammer as they walked home from class. The perpetrator managed to escape before anyone got a good look at him. Fortunately, despite suffering severe cranial injuries, both girls went on to make full recoveries. This would, however, turn out to be more than just a one-off incident. The same perpetrator struck again on March 16th, this time attacking 10-year-old Ayaka Yamashita and 9-year-old Kazumi Ishikawa.
Damn.
The former was
Children?
repeatedly clubbed in the head with a hammer, and the latter, whom he assailed just 10 minutes later, was stabbed in the abdomen with a sharp blade.
Okay, so you went from
Ayaka suffered a
clubbing to
cranial
stabbing.
contusion and passed away a little over a week after the attack. Kazumi, on the other hand, survived her horrendous ordeal. Her attacker's blade stopped just short of rupturing her spinal artery. And, unlike all of the others, Kazumi had managed to get a good look at the man's face.
Gaming stream, by the way? Of course it is. You know, this is as close to gaming as you can get in this day and age. You know, you fill yourself with videos that you can sit and talk and chill to with each other, and the game exists up here, Rafael.
Detectives immediately knew that the same individual was behind all 4 attacks. Near the site of each incident, he had left them his calling card. The mutilated carcasses of animals. In one location, they found a headless pigeon. In another, a pawless cat.
No, not the kitty!
With May drawing to a close, it had now been 2 months since the killer's last attack. And although he remained at large, the local parents, school teachers, and students were daring to breathe a sigh of relief, believing that this deranged lunatic had gotten bored, or moved on, or realized the error of his ways.
So it started with bludgeoning, which is in itself very personal. Like, having a weapon that demands you to be close range to something is very personal. So he started with bludgeoning, and then immediately after bludgeoning a poor kid, he picks up a knife and stabs a poor kid. That's even more personal. And then to mutilate a bunch of animals, that's... I don't know about that one.
And yet, that sigh of relief had just been replaced with a gasp of concern. On May 24th, a local 11-year-old boy named Jun Hasse had gone missing. Everyone suspected that the same elusive man was the one responsible for his disappearance. As the janitor approached the school on the morning of the 27th, he noticed some small, dark objects nestled on the ground, just outside the main entrance. As he drew near, he realized what they were. The mutilated remains of 2 cats.
Oh no. Dude.
Confused
not
and disturbed,
not a kitty.
the janitor continued forwards, noticing one more object at the foot of the main gate. Upon closer inspection, he realized that this wasn't just another cat. It was the severed head of Jun Hasse, the boy who had gone missing just 3 days earlier.
Fuck, dude. It wasn't like he left a hand or an arm, or like an arm or leg or toe or finger. Just straight up beheaded the kid. That's atrocious. And I also kind of find it interesting that it might be like the way he's telling the story and he's referring to him all the time. But I think the news outlets did this as well, where they kind of called the assailant a man already from the beginning. They kind of decided it was a dude. That would be interesting to kind of look up.
His eye sockets were empty, and small X marks had been carved into his flesh.
What?
Stuffed inside his mouth, which had been sliced open from ear to ear, was a crumpled up paper note. On it, Jun's killer had left detectives a taunting message, written in red ink.
He's taunting the officials?
This is the beginning of the game. You police guys, stop me if you can.
Hello, Miska.
I desperately want to see people die. It's a thrill for me to commit murder. A bloody judgment is needed for my years of great bitterness.
What?
Beneath this, the killer had also written a message in misspelled English.
School
True
killer.
Killer. The note was signed Sakakibara Seito, an alias made using the...
Dude, he just straight up taunts him. And Shul, I think is for school killer, meaning that he's gonna go after more kids. What the fuck, dude? I am pooping. You showed up on my For You page, so I decided to say greetings. You know what? Appreciate it, man. It warms my heart that every time you sit down to drop a deuce, you pop by the stream. Have you seen the stats on murder, serial killing? I think they mean him as his head, etc. The victim. Okay, fair. Reminds me of the Zodiac Killer. That's fair. Yeah, the Zodiac Killer Was the Zodiac Killer before or after this? I think the same thing. Zodiac is before this, right? Yeah, Zodiac. Zodiac was in the '60s. Yeah. Then it's probably way before this. I'm guessing. I have no idea. '90s and even today kind of suffers from the women wouldn't ever do this. Well, it's rare, but it still happened regardless. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you on the fact that, especially in the countries who have both of the extreme, let's say in the States, for example, and Japan, it is the vast majority of doing this type of psychotic shit are men. Like, I'm not trying to skew the narrative there. Would have been because I think they had the fingerprint technology we have now, it would have been a different outcome. Probably. What are we watching right now? Sorry, people, keep having conversation. It's all good, Avi. It's about a horrific um, case, a murder case, a serial killer essentially in Japan that kind of changed the whole landscape of the story. A case that isn't really spoken about a lot in the West, but is very talked about in Japan in itself. Zodiac was active between 68 and 69. You know what's funny about the Zodiac Killer? Well, there's nothing funny about the whole situation, but you know what I mean. I remember there was an individual who was talking about like how she used to she I think it was a she used to travel with her father all the time. Like they were living in the car and they were just driving along the country. He would pick up odd jobs every here and there, and they would just kind of be nomads in this. And then years later, he just one day he just upped and disappeared. No, he didn't up and disappear. One day they kind of found something and they built a home, and it was in the late '69s. So like close to like 70, right? He later on passed, and then the Zodiac Killer later on became like this global wide phenomenon. They gave him a name and everything, and she was looking at it being like, it's so weird that all of these murders kind of happened along the path that I was traveling with my dad. That is mind blowing to me. Imagine that. And the largely over indexed conviction and sentencing rates for women versus men. Yeah, of course. There are cases like Mira Hindley and Iron. Ooh. Remind me if you find a good video on either one of those where the individual that is talking isn't annoying to listen to, drop it in the Discord. We should absolutely check that out.
The kanji for sake, devil, rose, saint, and bite. Jun's headless boss, an alias. The note was signed Sakakibara Seito, an alias made using the kanji for sake, devil, rose, saint, and bite.
Yep.
Jun's headless body was found later that day, just 500 meters west of the school, on a mound known as Tank Mountain. He had been hidden under the floorboards of an old, decrepit antenna station. It was quickly determined.
How did they find him in there? How did they find him in there? It wasn't like he was
of an old, decrepit antenna station.
It was inside of an antenna station. How the fuck did they find the body in there? Fun fact, me and my girlfriend used to make a podcast and we did a series for Halloween of murders and stories on YouTube. Really? Do you have the link for it, Avi? Electrician? Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you open the door and he saw like that the floorboards are fucking chaotic, he kind of just looks under it and goes, "What the hell is this?" Absolutely. Because I think the killer kind of wants them to find the bodies, right? I'm guessing that he didn't do a very good job on hiding it either. I'll link an episode on this. Oh, do that, Avi. I'll check it out. I remember Ian Huntley was on the news when the girls first went missing, like before they knew it was a murder. Really, dude? Yo, historic, dude. Jump over to TikTok. The entire gang is over on Twitch right now, so jump over to Twitch. We're watching like a lot of videos and doing reactive content, man. Join in the gang. Yeah, me too. We were driving to Cornwall for a holiday when they started searching. Came back when they found him. Oh wow! Damn, dude. Historic, you don't have a Twitch? It's cool, man. You don't have to have an account to watch the stream, though. And if you ever need a reason to create one, now's the time. Thank you, Historic. That is appreciated. There's one I need to find out again, but it was a very local to me because the murder was involved with my school and even met my stepdad. He dismembered his girlfriend and then they found her head and stuff. Damn. What up, Bauko? Been a while, man. Okay, let's continue this.
It was quickly determined that the boy's head had been removed with a handsaw and had subsequently been mutilated with the same instrument. Despite an appeal for information, no new witnesses came forward. Even so, newspapers and TV stations announced that the killer was most likely a male in his 30s or 40s with a very strong build. A week and a half after Jun's head was discovered, a brown envelope with...
How did they know that? That's the only information they gave out. That was probably a strong fella. Wait to see you not playing again. Yeah, we're doing reaction content today, man. Balky, if you jump over to Twitch, there's a lot of people over there, man. The whole gang is over there, if you want to join. Is this the dad who killed his family for a new one? No. He's just killing random kids right now.
No return address arrived at the head office of Kobe Shimbun, one of the city's biggest newspapers. Inside was a 3-page letter, written by a person claiming to be Jun Hasse's killer. In a 1,400-word outpouring of insanity, the killer wrote, "I'm putting my life at stake for the sake of this game. If I'm caught, I'll probably be hanged. Police should be angrier and more tenacious in pursuing me. It's only when I kill that I'm liberated from the constant hatred I suffer, and that I'm able to attain peace. It's only when I give pain to people that I can ease my own."
What?
The writer stated that he would be targeting schools due to his hatred of the Japanese educational system. A system which he said had turned him into an invisible person.
Okay. Okay. You know what? Okay. Okay. So, he targets schools because, like, the educational system obviously, let's just say, mistreated him. But why are you going after the kids? Like, surely, like, setting fire to the schools or, like, vandalizing the buildings or, like, finding the old teachers that put you in those situations is the way to go in all of that insanity, you know? Why are you targeting the kids?
Isolated and alone. The letter was again signed Sakakibara Seito. However, in their initial panic to cover the topic, the Japanese media misreported his name as Onibara, Devil's Rose.
Onibara.
This mistake infuriated Sakakibara, compelling him to send another letter to a news broadcaster. "From now on, if you misread my name or spoil my mood, I'll destroy 3 vegetables a week. If you think..."
What? I need to hear that sentence again, and I need to hear the end of it. His brother.
"Spoil my mood, I'll destroy 3 vegetables a week. If you think I can only kill children, you are greatly mistaken."
It's vegetables, brother. Come on, bro.
The term vegetables referred to members of the general public.
Oh. Okay. 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 That one makes sense. Okay.
In essence, he was saying that he would take 3 random lives per week.
Okay. We're back in it.
Should anyone get his name wrong again. Eventually, a young man in the city came onto the investigators' radar. Someone with a history of tormenting animals. With the help of the eyewitness and victim, Kazumi, they had enough evidence to charge him. And so, finally, on June 28th, 1 month after Jun's head was found outside Tomogaoka Junior High, this nightmare came to an end. It was announced that a 14-year-old suspect had been taken into custody in connection with Jun's murder. The public were astounded that somebody so young was the person responsible.
Same
Due to
name
strict
as
privacy
here,
laws in
sorry.
Japan, the suspect's name would remain unannounced for decades, with the media referring to him simply as Boy A. However,
Wait.
in more recent years, his true name has come to light. Shinichiro Azuma, one of Jun Hasse's neighbors, and a student of Tomogaoka Junior High, the school where the head was found. Azuma told the authorities,
Notice me, senpai! Notice me!
Thank you, Historic Man. Welcome to the Twitch. Okay, pause. He's 14 years old and he did all of that? Man, like you can truly be like broken as a person when you're like, you know, 10 to like 16, but this is a wow, brother.
how he had looked where the head was found. Azuma told the authorities how he had lured Jun up into Tank Mountain on Saturday, May 24th, by promising to show him a giant turtle that lived by the water tank. Together, they walked up a trail called the Chocolate Staircase, all the way to the secluded peak. Once there, Azuma strangled Jun with a shoelace, and then hid his body under the floorboards of a nearby shack. He returned the following day with a handsaw and a black trash bag. There, he removed Jun's head, and even drank some of the boy's, quote, pure blood. He did this in order to cleanse his own, which
Bro, he's 14, man. He's 14. They often start insanely young. John Venables was 10 when he tortured and murdered James Bulger. Wow, dude. Have you heard of the world's youngest serial killer? No. Do link that video as well if you have one through the.
he considered to be dirty. He also removed Jun's eyes in order to extract his soul. He took Jun's head back with him to his own home, and then placed it by the main gate of his school in the early hours of May 27th. When asked why he did all this, Azuma simply said that he had a strong desire to kill that day, and when he came across Jun, who was on his way to his grandparents' house, he recalled that the boy liked turtles and viewed him as an easy target. Azuma claimed to feel satisfied that the boy now belonged to him.
Oh,
His reasons for leaving the head
Okay.
outside the junior high were twofold. Firstly, it was a diversion. In Azuma's mind, detectives would never think that the killer would leave his handiwork outside his own school. Secondly, he saw it as revenge. Revenge
you know what? As far as crazy goes, and the fact that he's 14 years old, the first reasoning there, where he put the head outside of his own school, that is a very good camouflage. That is a very good camouflage. And I can't help but wonder, like, was this kid like secretly, I kind of want to know how his grades were. Like if it was a really diligent student, really fucking smart, and just crossed the threshold of being insane in contrast to like genius.
against the school itself. An institution which he felt had destroyed his spirit and turned him into a shell of his former self. While being questioned by investigators, Azuma not only admitted to taking Jun Hasse's life, but also said he was the one who had attacked the 4 schoolgirls earlier that year, including Ayaka Yamashita, who had perished from her injuries. Referring to Ayaka, Azuma had written in his diary, "I carried out sacred experiments today to confirm how fragile human beings are. I brought the hammer down when the girl turned her face to me. I think I hit her a few more times, but I was too excited to remember." When Ayaka passed from her wounds on March 23rd, Azuma again wrote in his diary, "This morning, my mum told me, that poor girl that was attacked seems to have died. There's no sign that I'll be caught. I thank you, Bamoi Dokishin, for this. Please continue to protect me." It's unclear who Bamoi Dokishin is, though I have seen one source claim that it's a deity, often depicted as the floating head of Buddha. Why Azuma thought this being was protecting him is anyone's guess. Whatever the case,
So he was hoping that a random deity would protect him. So it was a little bit of superstition involved in this. Hard to understand how dangerous the bit where you leave them is. Fatal for so many DV relationships. Yeah. How long are you gonna be on for? I don't know. Haven't really thought about it.
handwriting in his diary matched perfectly with the notes sent to the media. In the end, Shinichiro Azuma was found guilty of Ayaka and Jun's murders and sent to a juvenile correctional facility.
Wait, when is this? Like, what year? What year is this? Is this dude still alive?
Defense attorneys tried to make the case that Azuma had been pinned for a crime he hadn't committed. Now, Japan is notorious for having a 99.8% conviction rate, and is often accused of imprisoning blatantly innocent people by forcing false confessions. His lawyers pointed to the fact that the perpetrator was, according to investigators, clearly left-handed. Azuma was right-handed. Whoever had penned the notes to the media had also made use of many complex figures of speech and intricate kanji, and was clearly a well-read and intelligent individual. With the utmost respect, they said, Azuma, who was a C student at best, wasn't smart enough to have written them.
That was one of my questions. I was like, what type of student is this dude? Like, is he a very diligent, like, genius slash psychopath? Or, like, is he just being crushed under all of this and just fucking lost it? He's a C student, dude. It was 1997? This dude is still alive, bro.
Not to mention, in Azuma's handwritten confession, he claimed to have done things that, quote, would have been impossible for a 14-year-old to accomplish. These statements made by Azuma's lawyers prompted his own mother to visit him in prison and ask him face to face whether he really was the one responsible for committing the crimes he had been found guilty of. With complete calmness and sincerity, he assured her he had. On March 11th, 2004, less than 7 years after being incarcerated, a then 21-year-old Azuma was released from prison, with experts claiming he had been cured of his sadism. Following his release, Azuma published Zeka, the memoir of his 1997 killings.
This motherfucker went and wrote a book about it? Don't they hang people in Japan for crimes like they do? But because he was a juvenile, he was 14, they couldn't really give him that sentence. So this dude came out and just started writing fucking memoirs about his killings, dude. I high key want to read this. What was the name of the book? Zeka?
Asuma published Zeka.
Let me just pull that up real quick here. It is. Zeka is a controversial 2015 biography written by Shinichiro Azuma, who used the pseudonym former juvenile A. He was the perpetrator of the notorious 1997 Kobe child murders in Japan committed when he was 14 years old. Dude, I want to see if there's a fucking online version of this because I really want to read it. Dude, there is. I just found a new book to read, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit.
The memoir of his 1997 killings. He even revealed how before leaving Jun's head at the school gates, he had taken it into a bathroom and done unspeakable things with it. Despite public outrage that he was trying to profit from his terrible actions and torment the families of his victims, that didn't stop the book from becoming a #1 bestseller in Japan and making Azuma a wealthy man. As if to add insult to injury, Azuma sent his victims' families a personal note of apology.
Oh, brother, no. What? So this dude committed several atrocities, got out, wrote a book, and became wealthy in the eye of in the public eye, as you're in the family of the people who just lost their children. And then to add like just to rub salt in your fucking wounds. That's not even salt, it's fucking sulfuric acid. He sends you, oh, by the way, I'm sorry note. Sorry for killing your kid, I was hungry, ooh. Yeah, ooh.
Attached to a copy of his book.
He sent the book! No! No, he sent the note with the book. That is diabolical. I don't think he was cured. The fuck no, he was not. He just had a lot of time to scheme and think about how we could get the upper hand and all. Okay, look, if I was, and I'm gonna say this with a straight face, if I was one of those individuals who got the book with the note of apology, I would have made sure that I spend the rest of my life in jail, if you know what I mean. Just broad daylight. No fancy schmancy, no sneaking around. Like, point blank. Who the Ooh! Oh, that actually kind of made me a little bit sick, dude. Oh, fuck.
A personal note of apology attached to a copy of his book. Jun Hasse's father, Mamoru, had tried to block the memoir from being released, and has since called for new laws banning killers from publishing books related to their crimes. In 2015, Shinichiro Azuma set up his own vanity website, one titled The Unbearable Transparency of Being, the former Boy A's official homepage. The site's gallery section was filled with bizarre photoshopped images of Azuma himself, some of which I can't show here. Psychologists have since expressed their views that Azuma is self-absorbed and desperate for public attention, and as the website proves, he'll take it however he can get it. The site has since been taken down. Despite occurring almost 26 years ago, the infamous Kobe school slayings are still talked about frequently in the land of the rising sun, and it's considered to be one of the most notorious cases in modern Japanese history. It had a major impact on the nation itself too, and not just psychologically, but legally, and led the government to lower the minimum age of offenders punishable under criminal law from 16 to 14.
What?
Perhaps the worst thing about this case is that one might have seen it coming, said journalist Gamal Krumar. Yet neither his family nor Japan heeded the telltale signs. From a young age, Azuma had been secretly carrying sharp tools around, and even wrote in his diary, "I can ease my irritation when I'm holding a survival knife or spinning scissors like a pistol." By age 12, he was tormenting animals, lining up rows of frogs in the street and riding over them with his bicycle, and cutting off the heads of stray cats.
Not the cat. Kitties? What the fuck did the little kitties do to you, man? And yeah, look, if the mother, if the mother and father knew about all of this, about this behavior, you need to contact the authorities, because there's no way. There is no way that you can ignore the fact that your son is a straight up psychopath. I really can't handle stuff involving cats. It's the reason I can't watch. I won't watch Obsession. That's fair. Look, I love kitties, but I feel like you're focusing on the wrong thing here. As horrible as it is to kind of line them up like frogs and just run over them. Very biased thing here. Getting crushed and then suffering to death is atrocious. Nobody should go through that. No living thing should go through that, ever. But I feel like because of the connection we have with like cats and dogs, actively dissecting a cat, like dismembering, it's not like he started with like cutting off their paws or anything. He just beheaded them, bro. Like, what do you mean? Also, Galby, jump over to Twitch. Everyone is over on Twitch right now. We're doing reaction content, so jump over there. The whole gang is on Twitch.
By the time his rampage on humans began, Azuma was displaying all the signs of hikikomori syndrome, a form of severe social withdrawal that's uncomfortably common in Japan, often brought on due to the intense amount of pressure youngsters are subjected to by their parents and by their educators. Japanese children are confronted with an extremely difficult examination at the tender age of 6, wrote Krumar. Their performance effectively determines their whole future, for it decides whether they'll go to a good elementary school or one of the despised state schools.
This is unfortunately very true. That is unfortunately very true. And there is no justifying on how harsh it is to be in the school system, especially in like Japan and Korea, because I've been there myself. Of course, China is up there as well, but I haven't lived or I don't speak Chinese, etc. I know the absurd amount of pressure, like the atrocities they commit in Japan and Korea just to make sure that you have a good future. So I had a pretty bad childhood and I grew up really fucking fast, but at least my school time was a little bit better. A little bit. But imagine like the way you act and is as a human being at the age of 6 decides your future for the next upcoming 9 years of your life.
Parents have no faith in the state system, and Azuma's mother was no exception. She pressured her firstborn to excel at school, even though social workers warned her that her son was mentally unstable. Azuma escaped into anime and manga, and rarely interacted with other people, whom he viewed as vegetables. The words he wrote on his notes to the media were even lifted straight from the pages of his favorite manga. Many parallels have been drawn between Azuma and another killer in Japan, the otaku murderer, Tsutomu Miyazaki, another social outcast and hikikomori. Even before Azuma's rampage made headlines, the older generations in Japan were already lamenting about how young people were becoming amoral degenerates. Once he was apprehended, they used Azuma's case as evidence to support their hypothesis that kids these days were becoming more violent and civil society was doomed.
Damn.
The Japanese media often supports this thinking, and in Azuma's case, said that his actions were influenced by the manga, anime, and video games that he escaped into. But others have questioned whether young developing minds should be put under such extreme pressure. After all, is it any wonder that so many young people in Japan regress from society and become hikikomoris when the alternative is a life of stress and servitude? Azuma was clearly a rotten egg.
Look, even as a hikikomori, unfortunately, a lot of those people go to work, and even if you're a hikikomori, you still have the pressure of chronically working overtime, etc. So the sad part is that you can't escape it. Unless you completely withdraw yourself from the system and live on like governmental aid or something, it doesn't matter how much of a hikikomori you are, you will still be in the meat grinder of their working force. Which is sad. It truly is.
Every society has those. Perhaps a less pressurized environment may have assuaged his dark impulses and kept him in check. Perhaps it would have only delayed the inevitable. Perhaps it wouldn't have changed a thing. But to use him as an example of a general societal decline is a step too far for some. The vast majority of hikikomoris don't become maniacs after all. They're just peaceful recluses who don't want what their society's selling. Namely, an endless cycle of work, sleep, repeat. These critics instead say that it's not young people who need to change, but the country's educational system and the unrealistically high expectations of parents and elders.
I agree with that.
But I suppose
actually.
that's a debate better suited for a different channel. Just as Shinichiro Azuma had been inspired by Tsutomu Miyazaki, it's believed that his actions went on to inspire another killer in the city of Sasebo. In 2014, an unnamed schoolgirl took the life of her 15-year-old classmate by slicing off her head and left hand. The victim was found inside the girl's home, sprawled out on a bed, with her belly sliced open.
What the fuck?
When asked for her motive, the girl later told investigators, "I wanted to dissect someone." Though her actions were of course inexcusable.
I mean, hey, fair. Straight to the point, go get it. Like, if you wanted to do something, go get it by all means, but like, you pump the brakes a little bit. Ask for consent or some shit. What the fuck? What? Why'd you do it? I wanted to dissect someone. That is the unfiltered truth. That's all gas, no brakes.
Usable. The general public did at least feel a modicum of sympathy for this unnamed female. After her mother's untimely passing, her father had effectively abandoned her and left her to live by herself. It's easy to see how her mind could have become warped. But as for Azuma, the public have been less than forgiving, especially considering how remorselessly he's acted since his release. Today, Shinichiro Azuma is 40 years old and allegedly lives in Tokyo, working as a mechanic.
What? When was this video released? 3 years ago. This dude is 43 years old and works as a mechanic still. That is wild.
He married one of his admirers from his working as a mechanic. He married one of his admirers from his fan club, with whom he now has children of his own.
So this psychopath murders people as a kid, gets sent to juvie, gets out at the age of 21, writes a novel, becomes infamous, wealthy, and blends back into society, gets a giant fan club, marries, has kids, and starts working as a car mechanic. Imagine being the children to this lunatic. What type of fan club could exist for a person like this? Two lunatic parents. And here I am, eating food, working out, sitting in front of a computer, a law-abiding citizen, and I'm getting Jack Diddley squat. I don't have a fan club, nor a wife, nothing. The world isn't fair, bro.
I wonder how he feels when they're walking home from school. Actually, I wonder if he feels anything at all.
Good video. That's a very good video. I like that. That was a very good video as well. I think we're gonna be watching a lot more videos from this dude. I think he covers a lot of the topics of like intricate Japanese things that kind of flies under the radar. I like that.